I'm Ellis Martin. I invite you to join me now in the Malibu studios of the Ellis Martin Report for a conversation with actor, model, journalist, spokesperson, director, producer, and master of improv, Christine Nguyen. Christine was born in Saigon, Vietnam, and raised in Houston, Texas. She went on to train at the Los Angeles branch of the Australian Institute of Dramatic Arts. Ms. Nguyen has appeared in dozens of projects which have aired on CBS, NBC, Fox, Comedy Central, Spike, HBO, G4, Discovery, and Showtime. You've seen her in films such as Get Him to the Greek. This is the first of several lifestyle-oriented conversations that I'll be having with Christine, and we welcome her to the program today at the edge of the continent, overlooking the Pacific Ocean at Zuma Beach in Malibu. Christine, hi. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure, Ellis. Thanks for having me in your studio.
Now, I'm thinking most of my listeners are probably wondering, and maybe some aren't because they know me, why are you on my program today?
Well, it seems like you've known about me for a while, and bless the internet. If it wasn't for the internet, we might never have been able to meet in person. But the fact that you kind of know my background, and it's a bit of a sexier background, I feel like it kind of gave you a segue into maybe starting a conversation with me. And then when we did get to meet, it seemed like we had a lot of things in common. One of those being we were very open about speaking about sexuality and relationships. And you approached me about maybe coming on to your radio show, and maybe we could do a little interview, and we could both open people's minds up and let them be more free with their sexuality.
Which has been the story of my life, actually. And you're absolutely correct, but I have to add to it.
Oh, I love that.
I have to add to what you said. I actually thought that you grew up next to me in New Mexico, that you
yes.
were my neighbor.
Yes. Okay.
That was the actual entree. I'm not sure if I would have reached out to you otherwise, but I thought for sure you were my neighbor.
That was a legitimate reason.
It was
a
legitimate reason. I'm not just the type of guy ever in my life, hey, I really like your work, what are you doing, or any of those lame things that I'm sure men do on the internet or in life.
They do, but you know what? I have to say this. You have to be able to take a compliment sometimes. I used to get real shy about it and nervous and kind of giddy or uncomfortable. But then one of my friends said once, he said something like, oh, you just look amazing today. And I was just like tongue-tied, and I said, I don't know what to say. And he goes, thank you. That's all, you know? So taking a compliment's good, too. But I like your story as well.
I actually thought you were my neighbor, and because your name, Christine Nguyen, is actually not uncommon.
Yeah, it's not. I thought I was special, but nope. Open up any phone book nowadays, and the Nguyen's are like Smiths.
But very, very true. But you are special.
Thank you.
And I recognize that somehow with your photos, and it just sort of, being a photographer, I think if there's a connection between the photographer and the model and the actor, it's in there. Even if the photographer's not good, if that presence that is yours is a 24/7 presence, then it will show in pretty much everything that you do, and it does. No matter what the project is, you're always going to be you.
True, it's very true. I think that your shine, no matter how you shine, you know, will always come through. The real you, that's it. The real you will always come through no matter what. It's not an act, right? Everybody, yeah.
Sometimes it is an act, but it shouldn't be when you're having interpersonal relationships between human beings. And I wanted to ask you about that shine, because I've been having this discussion with friends and people in the world of psychology. Do you think that shine is something that can be developed if it's not automatically there?
Definitely, because I know if we talk about that kind of shine, it was not always there for me. I grew up in a very conservative household. I mean, I'm Asian, first of all. Second generation Asian, but I was born in Vietnam, which makes me even more conservative than the Asians born here nowadays. I was born before, you know, the major, development of, when internet, it was there when internet started, you know, but I still remember the days of, you got to read everything. Everything's on TV, or you actually have to come out and do things. You can't just sit in your room by yourself and learn things. I wasn't afforded that opportunity, so I was very sheltered. So the person I am today was not the person I would have been, let's say, even 20 years ago. So yeah, you can develop your own shine, but you want to have to develop it, and it takes time. It just doesn't come overnight. You can't just buy a 3-step book and think that it's going to happen. You have to cultivate it. You have to make it your own.
There's typically no rule book with regard to cultivating your shine or your charismatic ability. I know I'm charismatic because everybody tells me so. It's not clearly obvious to me, but I know when I walk into a room, usually there's notice of that, and I've had to pay attention to it over the years. I was shy when I was younger, and still I was attracting people to me. But they say that that is not always something you're born with, that it is something that you develop. How did you specifically develop your shine, your charismatic ability, which you clearly have?
I think for a long time, there's 7 and 10 years difference between me and my younger brothers. So for a while, I was like an only child. And when you're an only child with 2 parents that are basically your lock-key kind of kid, you're home by yourself all the time, you develop this like fantasy world where you kind of become the person you want to be in your head. And some people make it stop there. They live in their fantasy. Well, I just knew eventually I'm going to get that opportunity to make this a reality. Like I always say this, and it might sound cliche, but there's a reason they're cliches, right? Because they usually are correct. If you can see who you are, you can see it, you can be it. I always saw myself as a very outgoing girl, even though I was sitting home by myself, not with any friends hanging around. No brothers and sisters, parents are always at work. I saw myself as that outgoing girl. So given the opportunity, and that opportunity came in college when I was finally let out into the world by myself, flew the coop, I became that person I cultivated in my head. And that's what I'm saying. We all have this head. We can all create our own fantasies, but you need to act on those fantasies.
Fantasies have to come from somewhere. Who are your influences?
To be honest, magazines and TV. I always saw the people that I thought, every person I see, any person on the street, and this is a game I used to always play with myself, every person I see, I'd say, what is one thing I take from them? Whether it be a bum on the street, a supermodel, an actor, a doctor, I would take one great quality that I would wish that I'd had from them, and I try to cultivate that quality. And so I kind of made a super person of all the people I thought, and I tried to become that super person. Whether or not I achieved all the qualities I wanted, I'm not sure. But I always aim high, because even if, I say aim for the heavens. If you fall, you're still among the stars. Always aim high.
You came from a cosmopolitan city. Houston, Texas is a world city, but yet you are from Texas.
Yep.
It's not exactly Los Angeles or New York. What was that transition like? What brought you to L.A.?
Oh my goodness, Ellis, can I tell you, I was so green. I thought after college I knew everything, right? I came out here and I was the greenest person in the world in a city that just preys on new people coming in every day.
Especially women.
Oh my, for real. Especially women, people coming in with stars in their eyes, of course, right? My story is, I was pretty sheltered. I was in law school, and I had gotten a call from one of the producers at Playboy. This is when Playboy TV just started. And they had this Sexy Girls Next Door contest.
Yeah, but how did you get the call?
See, that's the thing I never have realized. I don't know.
You still don't know?
I still don't know. The producer said, we got your name and your picture and your information, and so we thought we'd call you up and ask you, we would like to invite you to be in this contest. And I said, well, who sent the picture? And they're like, we don't have a name or anything. It was just in our mail. So that's when I thought,
sounds like a come on, right?
It sounds like a come on. Also sounds like a joke someone in college would play on me. So I, a couple of times I said, sure, whatever, I'll get back to you. Never got back to him. And it was the 4th time they called, and they said, you have to make a decision, because we're either going to fly you out here or we're going to move on to the next person. And so I said at this point, well, what do I have to lose, a week of law school? And so I didn't tell my parents, and I said, sign me up, I'll do it. Got on a Southwest flight, flew out to LA, shot for a week, won the contest, and then the West Coast editor, Linda Kenny, asked me, she goes, would you like to stay another week, and we'll shoot you for some of the magazines? And I said, sure. So I stayed out another week, and during that week that I was out here, I basically grew up and also grew a pair, because before I was so timid. Probably 10 years on my life, but life circumstances, because I'd been so sheltered before. I was in my 20s, but it was like as if I'd never lived. But when you came out here, I was meeting new people. I was put in situations where I really had to fend for myself or learn to be out there, outgoing. And either you have it in you or you don't. And you know what they say when opportunity knocks, you better be ready. And I was pretty ready because in my head I'd been waiting for this moment, not knowing it. So I got a bunch of offers to do certain things with this and that, some TV, some certain small parts here and there. And when I told people, oh, I'd love to fly back in for it, and they said, well, no, you kind of have to live here, honey. And I was like, oh, I'm still in law school. So I went back, finished off the year, and then left law school and drove out here in my little Miata. And that's how I got out of here.
That's a great story, but I have to ask you this question. Had you fantasized ever while you were putting yourself together into the Supergirl, the Superwoman, this super entity, had you fantasized ever about working with Playboy and working in erotic art?
I never thought about that. I knew that I'd be in a magazine somehow or other, on a stage or in front of a camera, whether it be moving or still. I knew that part about myself. I was always priming myself in my fantasy for that. Randomly, things happen in the universe, okay? I feel like if you put it out there or you work hard enough towards it, certain things align. And I'm not a big astrology person, but what I've realized just through living, if you put enough effort into your dream or what you want to manifest itself, certain small things will come together. Whether you subtly put those things together yourself, or you put that aura out there, or you just work hard enough to put enough irons in the fire, things will come together for you.
You were working on getting a law degree, and somebody submitted you to Playboy somehow.
Oh yeah, but I was still shooting back in Texas.
Okay.
I was modeling and I was doing small commercials here and there. But I never thought I'm gonna be in Playboy. I always thought those chicks are so hot in Playboy. That would be pretty cool, And back then they didn't even have any Asians in Playboy. It was not as cosmopolitan as now. They didn't have a lot of women of color.
Were you the go-to Asian at some point?
Yeah, and it was pretty nice when I moved out here. You didn't see a lot of ethnicity on TV and magazines. You'd see some chosen few. But I realized at one point, I'm kind of the go-to Asian face and body. And I don't mind that. A lot of people will be like, well, that puts you in this narrow niche. And I'm like, hey, it's a good-looking body and a face that people like. I'll take that niche any day. That's not a bad niche to be in.
No,
I'll take it.
In accordance with that, intention is everything. And
yes.
I'm not necessarily talking about astrology. We can't prove or disprove anything that happens in the stars affects us here on this planet. I know some of our listeners will agree with me, and many won't. But we can talk about that unspoken, not completely understood intention. Thoughts are deeds, thoughts are actions, events, things congeal from thoughts, and you've proven that.
Oh, yeah. You can't just think of things. I think... What is it? I know I've read this somewhere before. A thought coupled with an action, coupled with tenacity or something like that. That's what keeps things going. You can't just try once either. You got to have a plan. You got to do something about that plan. And if it doesn't work, you got to redo your plan and do it again. You can't give up. The thing is about giving up. If I gave up every time I was rejected by a man, a female, a show, a company, I would have thrown my towel in ages ago. And I think a lot of successful people in this world would not have been as successful were they not tenacious. Tenacity is everything. You got to keep going.
Where does your tenacity come from?
My tenacity comes from, Vietnamese people are very hardworking people. Asians are very hardworking, stubborn people. It's not taking no for an answer. See, I don't like the word no. I've never liked the word no from a man, a woman, anybody. The word no to me makes me try even harder. In my head, there's always, and I don't like saying no. I always like saying there's a possibility or absolutely. You got to feel like you can make things happen. You got to feel that way with a business, with yourself, with a relationship. And, some people will say, well, sometimes no is no. Yeah, no is no, but that's a whole different story. You can't take a failure and go with that. I think a failure is just a challenge to do better.
A failure is a challenge to do better. Failure shuts a lot of people down in this business in LA, and they leave.
Yeah, well, but that's good. And I'm telling you why it's good. I'm not bitter about things, but that's good because not everyone is made for this business. Now, that's this business. This is the business of entertainment. The business of life, you got to keep going, right? Because what are you going to do? You're going to shut down? You're just going to sit by yourself? You got to keep going. And then if you're going to be here in life, why wouldn't you strive for number one? You are your business. So you got to keep going every day for number one at your business. Do we just want to be mediocre? If we run our own business, which is us, being mediocre is nothing. Some people might want to be, but then I say, you're lazy, all right? You're lazy. Laziness doesn't do anything for you. It makes you lethargic. It makes you feel like a sloth. And inevitably, it's going to make you depressed. Being lazy, I kid you not, I've been there before, and it's the most depressing thing in the world. So failure is definitely, you got to accept it as a challenge. And once you do that, you keep on having that motivation to be better, which is cool. You hit one goal, you make another goal, right? You know that. You've done so much in your life in so many different avenues.
Well, I get bored.
There you go. And boredom is terrible, but boredom is one thing that'll make you grow so old and just, depress you even more than anything in this world.
And that propels me to action. I like so many different things. I'm capable of so many different things, and so are many of our listeners. So are you listening right now. You're capable of probably much more than you're even doing, and it's never too late.
Yeah. It's good to have someone who's a cheerleader for you, too, I think I was lucky my mom was a huge cheerleader for me. You got to have one of those in your life. And it might not be your parents. Most times it's your parents or your siblings. But that's why people go out and they find that niche. You need just one person to cheer you on. That's all you need. And I think that's why, how you're listening to us now. I listen to a lot of podcasts because I need my own cheerleader sometimes too. And I've got some great friends, but I can't always call them up every day and say, you know what, I need you to rah-rah me today. Everyone's got their own life going. And what I realize is that there are people out there who know more than I do. You have to accept that too. You can't feel like you know everything, because if you think you do, you're very wrong. There's someone out there who knows a little bit more than you, and seek those people out. Or at least listen to them. That's what I do. I remember I told you I take a little bit from everybody. We're so lucky now to have podcasts and YouTube and books, and seminars and everything. The world is so open for us to be the best person we can be. Why not take advantage of that? Think about 20 years ago. You would never be able to listen to us. I had to go out and buy a magazine and look at all these supermodels. You can probably go and find a podcast now that has the guy that's the best workout guy in the world, or the guy that's the best businessman in the world, and he might give you a couple tips that you could use. So find that one cheerleader for you very quietly. You don't have to announce yourself to them. I never do. I quietly take from them. But find your cheerleader and build from the wise words that they can give you. Be very quiet about it. Just look at everybody around you who's doing well. Okay, take a little bit from them. Take a little bit from her. That's what I think.
And what about living your life and increasing your inner circle with more positive people, with people that maybe have more on the ball than you, although that's sort of a judgment, that statement, but can teach you something, that can bring you something. And then again, in that same context, eliminating those in your life that are constantly bombarding you with negativity, whether it's their own or it's about you.
Oh my gosh, that is so important, especially living in a town like this where, there are a lot of really strong people and everyone's a bit eccentric in their own way. It's a very egocentric town, right? And so with that comes a lot of competition. I think the person you should always compete with is yourself, okay? And then when you find people who are around you that are competing with you, I'm going to tell you right now, that is a toxic environment, especially if it is your family or your friends. Family and friends support each other. And I'm talking from experience. When you surround yourself with people that want to cheer you on, a healthy level of competition is good. Not with your people who care about you. If you care about someone, don't compete with them. Compete with yourself. I know that's a highfalutin thing to say, but trust and believe. I've lived this life, and I kid you not. When I just started competing with myself is when I started winning even more. If you run cross country, what our coach used to always say is, he said, when you're running, did you ever look behind you to see who's behind you coming up on you? The moment you do that, you lose a little bit in the race and use a little bit of your game. Do never look behind you. Keep running ahead. Okay? Keep running ahead at that next goal. Never look behind you, because that stops you. And so when people who compete with other people, what they're doing, they're constantly looking behind them. They're the ones who are losing, not you. The thing is, don't keep people like that in your lives, or you know what? Keep them at a healthy distance, because they don't do anything but bring you a little bit down. And, I'm sorry if some of you are looking at yourselves thinking, I have a couple of those in my life. Look back and look at what they've done for you recently, and you'll see that they pull you down more than they push you up. It's unhealthy.
That's just brilliant, and spoken clearly, succinctly. It's the truth. You've been speaking truth.
And I hate to think if I come off harsh when I say this, but I'm going to tell you guys, this is stuff from like firsthand experience. You can love people so much. And if you don't get that love back, I never, like I say, I never give up. The things I do give up on are things that are unhealthy for me. That's the only thing I give up in life.
Well, you can love anything or anyone, but if it's not mutually beneficial, get out.
There you go. You can still love them, but just realize you're not going to get that love back. And at one point, you got to keep a good business person in the business of your life too. Don't let people keep on hurting you. Move on. That's not to say cut them off with a terrible no, go on social media. I am not about that. If you need to let go of someone, what my mom taught me that was really great, right? What she said, if you can't help someone, don't hurt them. If you need to walk away from something, do it with elegance and grace.
And kindness.
And kindness. Because in the end, if you need to go back, you did it the best way. Don't slam a door in someone's face, ask them to politely leave, or excuse yourself.
There are many people that really don't know what to do with themselves as far as career, as far as art. They're in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s. They're just lost, and they're unhappy because of it, and they would like to do something, but what is that thing that they should be doing?
You have to think about, what do you spend most of your time doing, right? Like me, I was always watching TV. I was always reading a book, but it was always like trash fiction books. So I'm basically living out little movies in my head, right? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't read a bunch of science books, no. And I was always looking at magazines. And so I realized I like things that look good, Maybe I want to look good, or I want to create images that look good, or I want to create something that is entertaining because I was being entertained. So what do? It's like, how great is today? If you play a lot of video games, right? What's the next step to do? Let's take that to another level. You can be the best gamer in the world, but you got to put some passion into it. Or people who they're always cooking or they eat all the time. The world is your oyster nowadays to be anything you want with the internet. With the internet, you can create your own business in a matter of a week. Whether or not the business is going to be successful is how much passion you put into it. But you sit back and you figure out what you spend 70% of your time doing. And then maybe you should follow that path, I'd say.
I spend 70% of my time dreaming and creating.
There you go. But you dream and create many different things, not just one avenue of things, right? Music, art.
Shouldn't you focus on one thing? Haven't you focused on one thing?
Not really. I mean, it's a general...
And by that, I mean entertainment.
Yeah. Well, entertainment's everything, though. I've done radio. I've modeled. I've acted. I'm dipping my foot into the directing pool now. I'm starting to do more producing shoots. And so I don't think so. You pigeonhole yourself. Everything you want to do, okay, let's say you love food. You can be a chef. You can write about food. You can be a person who grows things, a garden. Find the one thing you kind of love to do and then find something you might like to do in it. Yeah, it's almost like a one-on-one thing. This is when people, I think I need someone to talk to them, more like a person who helps them, give them some direction. Because I know what you're saying. It's very difficult for someone who doesn't think the way we do, I've always been very organized in my head. Everything I think of, all of a sudden, I do an outline for it in my head. I think not everybody thinks that way. And so it's helpful to find someone to give you some guidance, whether that be a life coach and I get this now because now that we're talking, I used to think that was kind of hokey, but now I get why they're life coaches because they're to give someone direction. Remember when you're younger and you're about to go to college? And you kind of knew what you wanted to be when you grew up and you're not sure, and your counselor gave you a couple options and they kind of directed you and gave you avenues, at least to narrow down that big wide world. No matter how old you get, you still kind of need a counselor like that.
You're taking your counseling from, I'm sure you have some trusted friends that you talk to every now and then, but you're ultimately making your own decisions, and you're taking that counseling, as you said earlier, bits and pieces from a variety of podcasts or media that you're listening to.
Exactly.
Or watching, correct?
Not everybody can afford a life coach. Not everybody can afford a counselor, a psychiatrist, whoever is the person that gives you some focus in your life. But you have to find people that you want to emulate or that you respect. And I think when you find those people, take from what they've already lived. They've cried the tears that you don't necessarily need to cry. They've been through the hurdles and fallen on some of them and been through the obstacles that maybe they can help you from going through yourself.
Why are you motivated to talk about this?
I'm motivated to talk about this, I think, because so many people I think they come up and they're like, man, you're so happy. Why are you so happy? I make it a conscious decision every day that that's how I'm going to be. And it seems like an easy thing to say, but only when you've been through a lot of struggle can you realize I don't need to be unhappy. And then I think to myself, you can do it too. I honestly think in my head, Ellis, and I don't feel like I'm like God or anything, but I know for a fact I can help people, like my friends. Small bits and pieces here, people I care about, I love, my family. I give them little tidbits that I've learned about in life. And if you are willing to receive what I'm giving, like how I receive what other people are giving, good things can happen to you. And I've never seen bad things happen to someone that I've tried to give advice to, and if they really followed it, because I only give advice that I'd follow myself. And obviously, I don't want myself to fail.
Are you giving advice to people that are asking for it? Is it unsolicited or?
No, you know what I'm giving? I'm giving basically, my friends, if someone asks for it, I give you advice. But in general, I'm just letting you know how I would do something. And you can see from my track record what you might want to do it or not too. It's like someone eating a cake and going, you might want to try that cake. Or someone tastes a drink and is like, you might not want to try that drink. It's all up to you. So what I'm just showing you is what I've been through, how it's turned out for me. I'm not saying it'll turn out the same for you. But, when people do say, why are you so happy all the time? Well, let me tell you why.
Do you think you need a strong relationship to keep that happiness going every day?
What do you mean?
I mean, a interpersonal relationship. I mean, a relationship between man or woman or woman, depending on your preference. I mean, is that important, or do you have to go beyond that and build that happiness in you before you can ever entertain a good relationship?
I totally get what you're saying now.
That's where I'm
get
going.
you. I got you. And I totally get it. And that's a great question.
Because what if you have a bad relationship in your life?
Okay. Ellis, that was a great question.
Thank you.
Because it took me a while to learn this. The first relationship that you have to make work is the one that you have with yourself. I kid you not. Because I've been in great relationships that have turned terrible, and many through the years. And I keep on thinking, am I picking the wrong person every time? Am I that bad? And then I look at the people I pick and I'm like, they're so different. They're not one person. It's not a one type. It's until you realize it's me. I can't stand to be alone. You have to stand to be by yourself. Not to say you're always going to be by yourself, because people get that way too. They're just like, you know what? Screw everybody. I don't need anyone. I can be myself. But they're miserable. They're forcing themselves to be by themselves. It's almost like, screw the world. Me, myself, and I stand alone. What? Don't do that. That's just being bitter at that point. You don't really like yourself, but you're just forced to be with yourself now. You really have to be content. When you are content with yourself, it is the biggest, I think, pheromone that you might put out there for people. Because when you are very happy to be who you are, it attracts people no matter where you are and what circumstance. I think that's the biggest thing.
So the closer you are to your true self and the more you're happy with it, that's what makes you more attractive. It helps build your shine and your charismatic ability.
Oh, for sure. You don't keep on having to live out a lie. You know how people always say, when I'm dating, first 6 months is the representative. After the 7th month, you start seeing the real person, not just like A+ anymore. Now you're seeing A through F. But it's so true. And it's easier on you. If you're just yourself, it's easier on you. And then you got to find people who like you for the person that you are, because then they're going to help you and you help them build the best person that you are. At this point, you're going to be Ellis plus, because you have people that are all about Ellis. So Ellis doesn't have to try to make them love Ellis. They already like him. So now you can just work on creating you keep on buffing yourself so you keep on shining. I hope people get these analogies, because I live through analogies. They help me figure things out.
I feel like I should pay you for this now.
What do you think this is? Wine.
We're drinking wine, ladies and gentlemen,
yes.
Boys and girls. If there's any boys and girls listening to this podcast right now, do what you want.
Yeah.
That's my unsolicited advice to you.
But that's so important. I love that you said that, because a lot of people, that codependence thing is a big thing when it comes to relationships. And people don't get that unless they're happy, first of all, to be by themselves, they don't have that power to be with someone else.
I think it comes with two things. Age. Mm-hmm. The age is I don't give a flying.
The confidence has already been built, right?
It's already been built, and I don't care anymore. This is who I am. Take me or leave me. I'm a nice person.
Yeah.
If we're in the room together, I'm going to be nice to you. Because
but
logically,
that's
makes sense.
But that's a key point. Do things with elegance, grace, and kindness. You got to do that.
Like you said, because that's who we are as human beings. That's why humanity has been created, to experience kindness and love and generosity and giving, because perhaps that can't be done on its own without the fleshy body that we're in. I'm not quite sure of it, but I know life just goes so much more smoothly if we're nice to one another, if we give to one another without hurting ourselves, of course.
You know, the thing is, too, we are the top of the food chain. So what are we scared of? Why can't we be nice to each other? We're not eating each other, right? We're not really worried about a lion attacking us. Other animals, other species have a lot more worries than we do. We're so built to be successful and live a great life. What the heck are we doing miserable all the time? We create that for ourselves. So that's what we need to start thinking about. A little bit more kind to each other, less selfish. And when you live life like that, I used to be very angsty, and I realized, I keep on thinking, I got to fight for everything, and thinking, but I need to. Like, that'll show people how strong I am, and then I'll be top. I realized until I started being more kind, more gentle, less selfish, life got better because everyone around me treated me better.
And there's always going to be somebody you can have a conversation with or have a good experience with. If it doesn't work out with you and whomever it is in your life, it's temporary anyway, whether it's a year, whether it's 10 years, whether it's a lifetime. We're on a planet of almost 8 billion people, I think, and that means there's 8 billion opportunities.
Hashtag amen. Hallelujah. For real, people, it's not the end of the world. If one person doesn't like you, it's not the end of the world. There are going to be 10 more that come up. And the thing is, if they don't, then you need to go out there and you need to make yourself available for 10 more people to come up to you. It's so true. Everyone takes everything so personally. That's what I noticed too. Don't take everything so personally. If you think you're great, you act that way.
Be great.
Yeah, be great. Don't let someone's negativity, and I know that in this day and age where the internet's full of negative comments, don't let those things get to you. I filter myself for hours and hours I spend on the internet filtering negative comments from my social media. Because my friends are like, oh, you're on social media. Not really. I post one a day, and then I spend the rest of the time filtering bad comments from it. And so don't let negative things get to you. And the moment you start living life like that, it's going to be so much easier. It's very hard, though, I know, when it's in your face constantly.
I'm glad you brought up social media. I hadn't thought of bringing it up, but you just referenced it. It has to be part of your marketing and part of who you are now. It became that. You didn't start out with social media. None of us did. I certainly did. I didn't even know what the term might have meant.
That was called a PR agent back in the day. That was your PR agent, your manager.
Who made phone calls, please.
Yes.
You send them photographs of yourself. You
so
set
much
up
less
meetings.
work back then for us. You are your PR person, your agent, and your manager nowadays.
So how crucial is social media in your life as a businesswoman?
Social media is huge. You can't beat them, join them. You can't beat social media. This is a beast. It's like reality TV. Social media is huge, but it's also a huge opportunity. It is a way for you to present yourself the way no other person can present you because you know who you are. Now, that also brings up the fact that you need to present who you are as you are, not an airbrushed, polished, totally perfect person, because none of us are perfect. And the scary thing is, if you present yourself like that, ideally you need to meet people face to face at one point. And when you do meet them face to face, it's horrifying, don't you think? It's horrifying.
If they're not what they present.
If they're not what they present, or you are horrified that they're going to meet you and they are astonished that you are not who you presented. So everything that's done should be with honesty. That's another thing we have to, honesty. A lot of people are very afraid to say their honest feelings in relationships, in business. What do we talk about? Being straightforward, being honest, being there. A lot of people forget that.
Integrity is really everything. And lying, while it might be momentarily convenient, is traumatizing.
That is true.
I tend to be as honest as I possibly can. I can't say that I won't tell a white lie down the road. It could happen because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, perhaps. But the easiest way to being free, attractive, confident is to keep all the lies from your life.
Yeah,
You've got nothing that you're worried about in that area. You're just available. And if people understand your truth immediately and they know who you are, you lay that out there right away. And you set your boundaries or open up your boundaries immediately. There's no guessing game. Everybody understands who you are. You can repeat it when you're being questioned down the road. You can say, listen, up front, I told you who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
You don't need a playbook.
No, a playbook is a hindrance.
Yeah, you don't need a playbook. When you start needing a playbook, that's, I think, an obstacle in relationships. Integrity is a big thing. And if you don't know the person that you want to get close to, I think that's a mark for, failure right off.
Too many people, when they get to know each other, live in the past. Now, there's some things to learn from the past. They're not important in present and future relationships, just as a lot of old research and data is not necessarily relevant for tomorrow, because it's a new day every day. And you have an opportunity each time you meet somebody or you're with somebody to bring your best foot forward or not participate in the conversation. Like you said earlier, there's nothing wrong with walking away.
No.
And regrouping, coming back another day.
Yeah. As long as you walk away with class, dignity, and kindness.
Now,
Never burn a bridge.
Is that a Texan Vietnamese thing? Because it's not necessarily a thing we see out here in Los Angeles.
Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do.
I think it's Texan hospitality that I'm seeing from you the most, having spent time there.
Yeah, that, and I think respect for each other, respect for everything. There's no reason to disrespect anybody. Disrespect does nothing but create hurt and anger, resentment. Just give someone respect, and if you can't, walk away. The age is always saying is that if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Don't prove it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you can't help someone, don't hurt them. That's the biggest thing. And I don't know that I've ever done that and not been able to go back to that person again and rekindle something, whether it's a friendship, or a relationship. People are in your life for a reason, a season, a day. Nothing has to be forever. Nothing has to be forever. We'd like it to, but some things don't need to be forever. And it's good to move on. Change is good. Change keeps you rolling around. Change keeps you constantly striving.
Do you have any regrets, Christine Nguyen?
Regrets? Not really. Not really. Sometimes I could say I regret making certain career choices or... Yeah, I think the only time I regret is not being able to have spent more time with the people that are no longer here. It's the only regret I have. But then I don't know, maybe because the fact that I didn't makes me think about them even more. I don't know. I don't really regret a lot in my life.
When somebody's had a pet for a long time, a dog or a cat, and that dog or cat passes away, they rush right out and get another one. Oh. And I don't understand how you can do that, because let's say you lose a family member, anybody, or one of your best friends, you've got a hole in your life, right? You should meet new people, absolutely, but you can't replace what you've lost, but you can find something new every day. Am I making sense?
Oh, of course. I get you. I'm right here with you. There's always something new every day. You're an artist. I'm an artist. I think most everyone is an artist in your own life. Every day is a brand new canvas to paint on. Don't take anything negative from the day before, even if there's a positive. Every day is a brand new day for you to do something with. Whether you want to build on the day before, it's up to you. But I'd say, why not challenge yourself with something new every day? We dwell in the past too much, That's not a good thing.
So what do you want to do that's new and exciting that you haven't done before? What's the future look like for you, Christine?
Well, right now, I'm jumping into, I've always been in front of the camera, and I'm getting pretty excited and stoked about being behind the camera now. Not that I'm going to be a photographer. No, tried that, was not good at it. I know my limitations. But the directing, maybe producing, putting together shoots. I know what looks good because I've been in front of the camera. So I want to help other people look good now. I think that's my main thing. The other day, there was a model that came in from Houston, and I set up a shoot for him. And I really, really got off on making him look good in front of the camera. It wasn't even to the point anymore that I was like, I wish I was in that shot. I didn't even care. I wanted to make him look good, and I knew how he could look good.
So that sounds like you're a producer, artistic director.
Yeah. So what it is now is producing in all terms of the word, right? You can be a consumer in life, but there's Maslow's hierarchy. There's 5 different levels in life. You have to achieve the smallest one to be able to get the self-enlightened one. Not that I'm self-enlightened, but I feel like I've done very well for myself. I've achieved a lot of my goals. And at this point, I would love to help other people achieve their goals. And it's funny, one of my really good friends, he's in the music industry. They do the soundtracks and the music for movies and films, commercials. And he and his partner, they do this, the company's called Sync Stories, but they did a different branch of it just for women, and it's called Second Mountain. And I love the idea behind Second Mountain. They asked them, what's the name mean? And they said, well, the first mountain in your life is you creating your family, your relationships, your career. The second mountain, because that's a huge mountain to climb. That second mountain is helping others do the same. I feel like that's where I'm at right now, because honestly, no matter how successful I get, how many more places can I travel? How many more bottles of wine can I drink? How many more steaks can I eat, right? The fulfillment now comes in helping other people achieve what they want, some of their dreams. Because I've been there. I feel like I know my struggle. And the craziest thing is, if you get to a certain age and you look and you see other people struggle the same way, I don't have children, but I'm sure parents feel this way. You want to help them. Let me give you an easier way to do this. Or let me enlighten you to some things I've been through so you don't have to struggle so hard. I would like to help other people now. And I think that's why jumping behind the camera kind of fits in.
And I believe that was the strongest thing about you that resonated with me. That's why I reached out to connect with you. That was the main reason right there, because I feel the same way. I didn't feel it was something I could do alone as a man. And maybe it's something that you can't necessarily do alone as a woman, but I think you probably can. Because you're only telling one side of the story when you're speaking to a species that's made up of multiple genders, correct?
True, that's
There's
so
perspective
true.
too.
Men and women do think differently, definitely.
And I would never know what that perception is. I would have an idea because I've spent my life studying women, as I would study any art, and I think women are art. And the reason for being for a lot of men and for a lot of women too. And that just is. That's part of our biological makeup, the things that bring us together. We're supposed to procreate to keep the species going, right? But the various ways that we get there that involve passion and love are fascinating and interesting to me. And that energy channeled into creativity and into production. It's really important. It's hard to define, but it's important that we get a handle on it so we can use it for the benefit of others, which ultimately pleases me. If I'm not pleasing you or whoever's in the room with me, then I'm not happy. I can either change how I feel or leave.
Yeah. At one point, you want to give back, to be a giver.
So we're there at that point in our lives, aren't we?
Yes, I think we are. It takes a while to get there, though. Not everyone gets there, you know. And I never knew this is a point in life, actually. I always thought you just got to go, struggle. But you will once you get to that point. And you breathe a little bit easier. Trust me, there's still the struggle is still real. But you breathe a little bit easier because you realize there's a bigger point to life right now than just you. When you become a little bit less selfish, not selfish like you meant to be a bad person, but just all about me. When you start doing things to help other people be the best they can be, that's the most rewarding, fulfilling thing in the world.
Well, how do you get past that with social media, which is exactly the opposite for the most part? It's about self-aggrandizement. It's about insecurity. It's about me. A lot of it is. And even any news media these days, which I turn off.
Hey, loving yourself is not a bad thing. Post as many pictures of yourself as you want to.
Okay.
That's fine. Don't come down on others when they post the same. If you don't like something that someone posted, unless it's abusing, hurtful, hateful, don't say anything about it. They don't need to know that you don't like their picture. They don't need to know that you don't think this is the best look for them or that's the best whatever. There's the smallest things that you can do to make life better. If you don't have anything nice to say to somebody, don't say it. Because at this point, it just makes me feel like, and I'm going to be very frank how I would talk to my friends. These are things I think in my head. And these are things why social media has never bothered me, and I've only taken the best from it. If someone says something mean to me, I honestly think to myself, why are you on my page then? Did I invite you to my page? No. So you're on my page. There's a side to the coin, right? Media people love this. If they hate you, hate and love are the same coin but different sides. And media people, we don't care. Because if you hate me, joke's on you, you're still on my page. So you lost. But I don't want anyone to hate me, and I don't need hateful things on my page. And most people don't. I don't need to generate that kind of attention. A lot of people do, though. But I'm going to tell you this. You keep on generating that kind of attention, it's going to bring you down. Psychologically, it's going to hurt you. You got to filter that stuff out. You see something bad, just erase it. I erase and block all the time. It's like having that one terrible person that's always calling you, and finally, you decide just to block them because you don't ever get to hear their messages. You never get to you see them calling you. They're out of your life. But if you let them just constantly call and leave you messages, it gets to you at one point. We're human, right? The more people tell you, you suck, it's going to get to you at one point. But if you just keep on erasing that stuff, filtering that stuff out, then you're good. And every little bit helps when you're building yourself. Every little bit of positivity helps.
I block it all out. I block people that might call me one time and say something nasty to me. Doesn't happen often, hardly ever happens. A negative email, I never want to speak to that person again. Actually, maybe I'm being too harsh, but it works for me. I block a lot out. And it works.
Yeah.
And I move on, because if you're even going to respond to that negativity, that's time out of your day. That's time out of your heart.
It's
that's
so true.
Pain in your life that you're inviting in by allowing it to stay.
And if that person cared about you, what I've noticed about people who really, really care about you, they don't want to hurt you and they don't want other people to hurt you. But the thing is, it all comes to they don't want to see you hurt. If you care about someone, you don't want to see them hurt.
True.
I don't put people I care about in a position where I could hurt them. And that's me bringing unnecessary drama into their life. You have to temper yourself as a person too, because if you bring unnecessary drama into someone's life, then you're hurting that person. You're taking the precious time that they just want to spend with you, making it about yourself. I mean, we all know people like that too, right? There are people out there that it's just like, you just want to have a great time with them. But every time, you ever know that there's a friend that every time you see them, it's just negativity that wears you down.
Less and less.
Yeah, right? But you got to start thinning the herd out. The brain gets clearer. The circle gets smaller. But it's okay. Quality over quantity. Always quality over quantity. But if you do it right, your circle will be big with the right people.
Christine, this is one of many conversations we're going to have together. It's the first one. We're just getting to know each other. Thank you so much for joining me today on the program. And tell us how people find you on social media, if you dare.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Ellis. Like, honestly, it's been so much fun. So I do have 3 social media, actually 4 now. If you want to see me kind of in person yakking away, then you can check a view of my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/C as in cat, /C as in cat, EENN. And then I have my Facebook, and the handle on that is the number 1, my name, Christine with a CH, Nguyen, Nguyen, with the number 1 after that. My Instagram handle, the number 1, Christine Nguyen, and my Twitter. And my Twitter, this is kind of weird. I'm going to spell it out for you. It's N as in Nancy, CRYSTEAN. I was really into crustaceans back in the day, and I think I was trying to emulate that in my name. So weird.
Thanks. Christine, it was a real pleasure. Thanks again for joining me. We'll see you again soon.
My pleasure. You definitely will.
I've been chatting with actor, model, and journalist Christine Nguyen at the Malibu studios of the Ellis Martin Report. Subscribe. It's free.
Would you like to be one of the first to see who we are following? Subscribe to our audio newsletter. It's free. EllisMartinReport.com.